Hello friends, how are you? I wrote this short story 13 years ago, but I remember while I wrote it, I was thinking about how we humans tend to make snap judgments about people, and often without knowing the circumstances. It's called the whole picture. That was it, she said. She'd taken all she intended to. Little Andrea was crying again, and all because of that new child down the road. This time she'd give the father a piece of her mind, and it wouldn't be a nice piece. As she dried her little girl's eyes, she heard the story through sobs. Feeling very angry, she decided to wait 5 minutes till her temple cooled a bit, so she gave tiny Andrea a glass of her favourite juice and a big hug. The pretty 5-year-old looked at her with green eyes as large as apples. I know all about it. Mummy was bullied too. We'll go and see Michael's father, and he better do something to stop it. As they stormed up the road, Joanne didn't notice the sunshine, the clear blue sky, or her neighbour waving. As she strode up the street, Andrea, clinging to her hand, almost had to run. She knew her mum well. When mum was like this, you went with her at her pace. Entering the garden of the house that had been empty for some time, Joanne did observe that it still looked dilapidated. The garden was just as bad as when they'd moved in a month earlier. Michael's sister, Sandra, put her comic down and stood up on the doorstep. "Hi, Andrea," she said in a friendly manner, then more respectfully, "Hello," to Joanne. "Hello. Is your daddy home?" Joanne responded. The girl nodded. "Well, will you get him, please?" The thin-faced girl of about 11 soon came out again with a man that Joanne had just about acknowledged in the street. He was 30-ish, tall and lean. His kind face was lined across his brow, and his brown locks were longer than most wore them nowadays. He seemed a little shy. "Hi, is everything okay?" His tone suggested that he thought it was not. "No," Joanne snapped. "Everything is not okay." The 11-year-old let go of the kitten she was playing with and came to her father's side. She took his hand and looked into Joanne's face. "It's your Michael," Joanne continued. "He hit Andrea and ran off with a packet of crisps. He's a bully, and I am not having it." "Oh dear, I'm sorry." "Michael!" The last word was shouted toward the open door. "This street," Joanne spat out the words, "was peaceful until you came. Everyone here controls their children. What's wrong with you?" Joanne did not see how her sharp words cut him, and he didn't reply. Sandra gripped his hands more tightly. "Michael!" he shouted. "Here, now!" A reluctant little boy with a red face appeared at the door. "Come here, please." Head forward, the child approached his father. "Look at me, please. Did you hit Andrea?" "She was being selfish." "Did you hit her?" "Yes." "Where are her crisps?" "I don't know." "Michael?" "I ate them." Robbery with violence. He had all the seriousness of a Crown Court judge. No pocket money for a week, and no television tonight. "Oh, Dad." "Or nothing. Whatever would Mummy say?" Joanne had not really thought about that. Where was the mother? Probably, like her own ex, she'd moved on to fresh pastures. "I'm really sorry, Joanne." The boy's father was embarrassed. "Being sorry is all very well, but no doubt he'll be out there throwing his weight around again tomorrow." The man put his hand in his pocket and took out a pound coin. Giving it to Andrea, he said, "There you are, love. Buy some more crisps." "So," Joanne continued, driven by the weeks of frustrations, "how will you stop it happening again?" "Look, I'm trying." Now the father was getting irritated. "What do you want me to do? Hang him?" "Control him. If you don't do it now, when he's 16, we'll all be in terror of him." "Bit of an expert, are you? Andrea is perfect, is she?" "Andrea is a good girl." "Well, Michael thinks she's selfish. Perhaps if she shared all this—" "What absolute rubbish!" Now both voices were getting louder. "I suppose when he starts mugging old ladies and stealing their handbags, you'll think they should have shared their pension with him." "No, but I do teach my kids to be generous, and you should try doing the same." "I'm not one bit satisfied," Joanne said. "Too bad. I can only do my best." "Call that your best?" Joanne was aware that she'd lost control, but taking the pound from Andrea, she threw it on the path and shouted, "Keep your money. Put it toward a book on child rearing." As she walked briskly away, Andrea ran to keep up, and the gate crashed behind them. Young Sandra saw the tears in her father's eyes as he closed the door. She sat on the door. The cat sat on the doorstep. The cat she stroked seemed oblivious to human troubles. A bright child, she knew her brother could be a little devil, but he had a kind side. Poor Daddy, she thought. And today of all days. Getting up again, she left the cat purring. Closing the gate to stop it following, she sang a Spice Girls song to keep us to herself. Her dad always said singing gives you courage, and she hoped that was right. Passing the pansies and tall hollyhocks, she pressed the doorbell. She saw Joanna Hill through the glass panel of the white plastic door. Opening the door, Joanna was surprised. Yes? It was a question. I want to talk to you about my dad. Taken aback, but impressed by the girl, Joanne brought her in. Sandra noticed how nice the house was, like her granny's, but modern. Pouring them both a glass of juice and sitting down, she began, About your dad, then. You really hurt my dad today. He's crying. A bit of a wimp, your dad, is he? It's a very bad day for him. Well, it's hardly a great one for Andrew and I, is it? It's June the 25th. So? My mummy died on June the 25th last year. Daddy thought moving would help us to get over it. The very adult little girl had gone thin in the voice, and her eyes were burning. Joanne was stunned. You see, Sandra continued, that's why Michael's so naughty sometimes. Daddy and I talk to each other, but Michael does things. He broke some of his toys last night, and when we went to the grave this morning, he wouldn't help with the flowers. Anyway, now you know why Daddy is so upset. Joanne looked at the girl, so like her father, his eyes and nose, and he screwed up his nose sometimes when he was talking, and she did exactly the same. Joanne put her arms around little Sandra as she said, Oh dear, I am so sorry. I seem to have made a bad time even worse. She wanted to cry. She wanted to swear at her own stupidity. You poor, brave child. I wanted to tell you, but I'd better go home to Dad. Thanks for the juice. Joanne sat for a while staring at the floor vaguely, listening to Andrea's chatter to her dolls upstairs. She sat for 30 minutes, and she ended up gently crying. She thought that Richard's adultery had taken all her tears. She felt it best to stay away for the rest of the day, but she did get busy in the kitchen. Soon little Andrea was downstairs with her, playing with dough, while Joanne got to work on making a fruitcake. Her fruitcakes were famous. Richard had once said in anger that they were the only thing he missed. Working the ingredients was therapeutic. It helped her to think. What was it that her father used to say? Before you lose your rag, pet, make sure you can see the whole picture. Oh, if only she had her father's wisdom. The next day, which was Sunday, early in the afternoon, the doorbell at number 49 rang. Philip went to the door, closely followed by young Sandra. He was very concerned to see Joanne standing there. Now look, he began, Michael hasn't been out of the house all day. Ignoring the defensive move, Joanne gave him a kinder look. Holding out the tin, she said, It's a peace offering. I hope you all like fruitcake. I'm sorry, I didn't know the circumstances. Your wife, the date. I lost my temper, I'm afraid, and I'm very, very sorry. Very tenderly, Philip said as he took the cake, There was no need. You weren't to know, and it doesn't excuse Michael's behaviour. No, but it may explain his conduct. I should have spoken more kindly. Look, enjoy the cake, and if you need your neighbours, Sandra knows where our house is. Sandra gave Joanne a broad, sun from behind the clouds smile. Joanne continued in gentle tones, I'd better go. Andrea's father will be bringing her back soon. He has her for a while on Sundays. Touching her hand, Philip said, Can we shake hands and start again? Yes, let's, Joanne replied, and they did. As Joanne walked home with Andrea from school the following Tuesday, Philip called them over. "Thanks for the cake, it was delicious, Joanne." Then shyly he added, "Sandra was wondering, we were wondering, could you two come to tea on Friday night?" Watching as Michael passed his packet of mints over the fence to Andrea, Joanne looked back at Philip's kindly face and said, "Yes, we would love to." It's true, isn't it? Sometimes something happens, we jump to conclusions about people, and we don't have the whole picture. That's really what the story was about. Thanks for listening, my friends. Bye for now. Bye.